You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at paceradio.net as well as cbgtv.com. I'm Al Graham, and joining me is my joint host, Tamara Cartwright. You're in the fog. You still smoking that Remo joint?
Yeah, no. No, that lasted me a good 3 hours, though. And I put it out twice.
Oh, I did, eh? Wow.
Yeah, but it lasted me put out twice, lasted 3 hours. I'd definitely buy another one. Like, it's not like a one-off where I would never buy another one. I would definitely buy another one. But I think that every one of them is different flower. Because from my understanding from having them on, they're sourcing flower and keef and extracts from other growers and then putting them on the market. So you might not get the same strain.
Well, yeah, he just says premium cannabis.
Right.
He doesn't get it. I haven't heard Remo talk about a specific strain. He talked about the process, how it was all put together and the whole bit. But yeah, and how it's grown, or who grows, not who grows it, but what it's grown with, which is his products.
Right.
So,
which we just got. Well, they'll be here tomorrow. Tamara Wellness for Remo's Nutrients to Cranbrook, Kimberley, BC, folks. You're coming to my store. They'll be here tomorrow. I'm so excited to get started teaching people how to grow cannabis with Remo's Nutrients.
There you go. There you go.
Super excited about that. Yeah.
Well, let's hope it goes successful for them, just like the supercharged joint has gone successful for Spirit Leaf there in Campbellford, because they're selling them. They're being sold. And a friend of mine who I smoked mine with, 420 Deb there in Campbellford, who you would have met years ago probably.
I did meet Debbie. Yeah.
Yeah, she went over and bought one. After smoking one with me, she went over and got one herself. And
awesome.
the one problem I would say that she had with it, I haven't heard back from her since she smoked it, so I hope she's okay. But
she's been stoned for days.
Yeah, it's because they have to put childproof stuff on it, right? And it's a tube, so they have, this one's not opened yet. They have to make it like a push down or whatever, and with arthritic hands, it was a bit of a pain to get open, but there was success.
Well, you know what? Every one of those stupid things, honestly, with my arthritic hands, even the bags are a pain.
Yeah.
I don't even usually bother. I usually, like, when I open a bag, I just take scissors and just and into a jar it goes. Right? I don't even bother with the packaging. And then I went to this new store in town here last week, and because you're new, you got a free eighth. And even getting into this was like kind of brutal, but it doesn't, So.
Oh, okay.
It's not, like I said, none of the stuff that I've been buying from the store, and I hate to say I'm buying from the store because I'm not growing my own right now, hasn't been that bad. It hasn't been unburnable. It's like nice, even this is a nice gray ash on it, right? Like, and they burn well, and they got the resin on them. Like, it's decent cannabis. It's decent cannabis. What can I say? They're getting better, but they're also using good nutrients. In fact, one of the guy that runs Rocky Mountain Cannabis here in Kimberley, he just got his microcrafting license, and he does worm casings and organic soils, and he doesn't use any nutrient that, like the chemical nutrient. He's all organic. He buys worm casings from Top Prop, because I seen him today too, and I also seen the master grower from Dicor Pharmaceuticals in my store today. So they're coming and they're buying their product from my garden center, and I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm going to be teaching everybody how to grow weed. Devin's like, You are? Right on, let's talk. Right. So, I mean, with having that in with knowing the guys from the licensed production sites and the microcraft, then they see me at Top Crop, they're like, what the hell? Right on. So we're gonna try and get some clones to sell clones
No, well,
whenever we
hey,
can do that.
well, if you can get a license to do that, you can get a license if you get a nursery license. I think it's
Well,
I think it's a nursery license you need to
that's
get.
what we're gonna attempt because because it's a great big
Yeah.
huge garden center. We'll have to have a nursery probably out back with a 19 plus hidden in the back far corner, I'm sure, but it won't be in the middle of the
Yeah,
store by any stretch. But if we can do
correct.
that and do it locally, because we got a couple local like micro crafts going and keep it all local, I'd like to see that happen. I'm not saying it's going
Yeah.
to happen because we have to do the licensing and it takes a long time
Oh,
because
there's
Rocky Mountain Cannabis just got their license for R&D 5 years. So he's not even in
wow.
production. He's
Yeah.
just in R&D
It's
still.
not. It's not a process that you get back.
Well,
Hear
no, he
back
was
from in
a
10
medical
days or
grower that
less.
figured that he could just, turn his little, garden that he had from medical into a
Right.
microcraft. And then the government went, you need to build a whole new building,
Yeah.
dude. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. Because he just figured he'd be doing it in his barn like he was doing it for medical, right? He didn't
No.
think.
No. No.
And
It's
I
not.
told him
It's
that.
not like
And
that.
I
No.
told him that. And I told him that. And he wouldn't believe me. Well, 5 years later, he's coming and going, hey, you were right. And I'm like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You know what? You know what we haven't done yet? We haven't played the video.
oh, wait, that's because we get yapping too much, Al. You know me.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
Well, we've
because
got
we're
lots of time to
nominated.
yap.
We are
Yeah. Yeah.
nominated.
That's right.
This is
Exactly.
super exciting as a network. Every show and everybody, the whole works of us, have all been nominated under one banner, the Pace Radio Network,
Right.
and you can vote.
Yeah.
And you dang well better go vote. I am.
You can vote every day. Once a day.
Yeah.
Once a day.
And you can vote for
Exactly.
us, and then you can also vote for like the Canawitch because he's on there too, and a couple other people if you feel the need. And our guest tonight is also nominated, and our guest last week
Correct.
has also been nominated.
It was also nominated. It's that it's getting some people to know some of these people because I've met the Canawitch once or twice. You sounded like you knew who he was. As soon as
Yeah.
he mentioned he was the Canawitch, you went, whoa. So
Well, yeah, because
so
I'm pretty
then
sure I'm pretty sure that I had him on my show, or Al and I from the other network. I'm sure I had him on my show. I think I met
yeah,
him in
maybe
Toronto.
yeah.
I met so many
And then there
people though.
was
It's really like it's been so long that I'm getting old.
yeah. Shauna I had only met once, and that was for the special presentation that we did here on the network over question 5.2 on the Cannabis Act review.
Yeah.
That was the only time I had met her. I've never met her in person. And then tonight's guest, Jeremy, I've never met him. I've never met him other than just through through LinkedIn. I saw his information on his nomination, and like you and me, he's got bowel issues. He's got Crohn's disease. I've got Crohn's. You've got colitis. He's also got a son that's dealing with issues, and he's been going around here in Ontario getting signatures and stuff to present to the government to improve things for cannabis and
Well, then we should
tourism.
introduce them to the Joneses too, because we had them on our show too. And Katie and Nick are doing the same thing. They're going around Nova Scotia getting signatures to help get Sophie's medication paid for. So there are all these people that we don't know, that we know, that we don't know, that facilitating and combining and getting them to meet each other is a good thing. Because, like I said, Nick Jones used to work with my husband on the rigs. And how they got to Debbie, I said, you guys need to go and talk to Debbie Stiles Giffen. You guys need to go to Harvest Fest. You need to get involved with Mom. And what did they do? They got in touch with Debbie, got involved with Mom, and now we got a whole bunch of stuff going on, right?
Yeah, they've been in the national news in a little bit. So
right,
to say that was after they were with us, because when we were there with us, they hadn't talked to the national news yet.
Right.
And then And then after us, I saw that they were on
I'm
HTTP.
gonna mute for a second. There's somebody at my door and the dogs are barking. Hang on.
Okay, you go do the dog. I'm gonna go play this video. Okay, we'll see everybody on the other side. This is for those who don't know anything about us or just learning about us. And so here's some information about the Pace Radio Network, our hosts and our shows. Hey, there you go. Quick little video, a little promo on what's going on here on the network, our different shows. I see Tamara's not back yet. We got the owl there on the back of the couch. She's dealing with the dogs. And I'm also dealing with our guest tonight. We're trying to get him connected here. And so far, we're having issues doing that.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry. There was a guy from natural gas at my door, like dressed like the abominable snowman. It's minus 27 out here. Checking if it's and he's banging on my door and banging on my door. And it's like, buddy, like if I'm not answering after the first knock, I'm not gonna answer after the third. But he just kept banging on the door.
Oh, really, eh?
And
He sees lights are on.
Like totally. And
So
it was about, do you have fixed rates for your Fortis gas? I go, yeah. Well, is it gonna last for? Yeah, I'm not interested. See you later. Slam the door in his face. Like go.
Right. I know.
So
I've just been in touch with Jeremy.
okay.
Yeah, he's just getting. He's like you. He just got home. Well, you got home a little bit earlier than normal, but yeah,
Right?
he's just got home. And
No,
look at
check
that.
he's
There
in.
we are. Look at that. There we
Awesome.
go.
Hey, there we go.
Let's
Perfect.
bring him
Sorry
into
about
the
that, guys.
program. Hello, Jeremy. How
Hey,
you doing?
hello.
I'd like to welcome Jeremy Smith to the Pace Radio Show.
I am so glad I made it on time because I dropped my phone, shattered it. I ran out to go get everything fixed for it. So I got home literally like 5 minutes ago. So it was a very close call.
Can I get you to turn your phone, and then that
Oh,
way
yeah.
that'll make you should make you full screen. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.
There we go.
Good.
Well, as long as
Yeah,
you
it
can see
was.
me, we're good.
We just played a promo of our nomination here, letting people know about us here on the network. And I had said before that for this month, for the 3 weeks, we've had a nomination from the CannExpo, and we talked about the one of them I knew a little bit. Our last guest, Shauna, I had only met her through a special presentation that we did here on the network, and yourself. I said that I've never met Jeremy. I don't know much about him other than the fact what I had read about you in your post on your nomination for Trailblazer here at the
Trailblazer.
CannExpo.
Yeah, I kept it low key for a bit. I started going in media a lot. And then I had a couple people out in BC and Ontario saying that they were working with me that didn't work with me. I didn't even meet them. So I kind of just took a step back and just kind of did everything off the grid for a bit. So yeah, it's been fun. Obviously, I heard you say it. I almost passed away. Got diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis, or not colitis, sorry, Crohn's and eosinophilic esophagitis. They gave me prednisone, and yeah, I collapsed dead 3 weeks later after being on prednisone. Double lung blood clots in my neck, arm, legs. Blood clots hit my heart while I was working, and that was it. I woke up and my life was forever changed. They gave me I had a herniated disc in my neck and back and so much pain from all the medications, the Crohn's medications, the eosinophilic esophagitis medication. And then they gave me opioids for the herniated discs, and that caused more issues. I had inflammation in my brain around my pituitary gland. So it looked like I had a stroke. Like I have no feeling down the one side of my body. I still don't have any feeling down it, just from the inflammation in my brain. So it's been a heck of a journey. So that was 2 years ago. I almost died. And from there, I started using cannabis on the medicinal level. Back when I was younger, I used it when I was 17, 18. Actually, no, I think I started when I was 15. Yeah, I was 15
So
when I started.
basically, you hadn't used cannabis. You hadn't used cannabis in several years.
Yeah, like 8 years. I didn't use it.
Right.
I joined a gym. I gained 150 pounds in 10 years working out every day. I started going back to college. I graduated from police foundations, wanted to get into policing like the rest of my family. I had just applied to corrections and border security. And then a month later, this all happened. So needless to say, my last decade of my life planning for a future career didn't go as well as I thought. So it went from planning on
changed, don't they?
They changed quick. I went from.
So was the esophagus issue due to your Crohn's?
Yes, yeah, it's the same thing. So it's pretty much Crohn's goes from my upper stomach into my esophagus. So I choke on food a lot. It hurts to breathe some days, just from the pressure on my throat. So every 8 months to a year, I go for throat dilations. So you get put to sleep, and then they give you a throat dilation, and then I can swallow food for a couple more months, and then I go back.
So they're basically trying to stretch your throat out. They're putting the balloon down in there, and stretching it out. I know my doctor talked to me about that when it comes to the narrowing of the bowel. So it sounds like it's a very, very similar way that they deal with it.
Well, even what was it now? 2 months and a week, I think, ago, I died on the operation table or procedure table for that procedure, because I was like, I can't wear a mask. Whenever I wear a mask, it causes my eosinophilic esophagitis, all my stomach acid to come up, and it looks like I have rabies. Like I kind of just spit out foam, and but they forced me to wear one. 2 hours later, I got into the procedure room and they put me to sleep, and my stomach acid came up while they're doing a throat dilation. I ended up aspirating on the table, so I drowned on my fluid and everything else. They almost had to dislocate my jaw to get the breathing tube down. I woke up with blood on my face, and I was shaking. Like I was like, couldn't stop shaking. I ended up being home for an hour, then being transported by ambulance to another hospital, and I had pneumonia from the amount of fluid in my lungs. And that was just 2 months ago. Like I'm constantly battling stuff, and now I have arthritis from the medication for the Crohn's, and it's just one thing after another from all these medications. It's just been kicking my butt. Well, say nicely, but
Tamara's, because Tamara, you're dealing with your colitis, and you got arthritis issues too.
I've got rheumatoid arthritis and colitis, and I've had colitis since I was 18 or 16, I guess. I was diagnosed when I was 16 with colitis, but don't have ulcerative colitis. I have lymphatic colitis, so it's totally completely different from anybody else. It's like 1 in 42,000, and there's no treatment for it. So that's how I got my medical licensing for cannabis, because it does help with the inflammation and stuff. But when it comes to my RA, I'm sorry, the cannabis don't work. Don't do shit. For me. For some people, it does. For me, right? For some people, it works great. But rheumatoid arthritis is an overactive immune system. And it's not about the inflammation in your body. It's about having an overactive immune system. So I have to take methotrexate to balance out my immune system so that I'm not all inflamed and in pain. And then they've added hydroxychloroquine to it. So, I've got to take these things because cannabis, I was 3 years ago, I was in a bed on a cane. I couldn't move. And we tried everything. I have friends sent me everything that we could think of, rubs and tugs and suppositories and cannabis and different strains and all these whole, potions and lotions. And I had to go to pharmaceutical, which really broke my heart, because that was never the route that I wanted to take. And every time I try and wean myself off the methotrexate and not take it, I'm right back to where I was before. And it doesn't matter how
Yeah.
much cannabis I eat
Yes, yeah.
or how much cannabis I smoke or how much cannabis I work, you know, and that's just me. Like, I'm not saying that's for everybody, because a lot of people it
Oh
works
yeah.
great for.
Oh yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
like, just, I mean, it helps with the quiz. It helps me with my, you know, my appetite, because I don't eat. Like, I went to the doctor
Yeah,
yesterday and I weigh 94 fucking pounds. Like, because I don't eat.
yeah.
But, you know, never mind the medications and stuff that I'm on and, you know, whatever. So this helps me eat. It helps me sleep. It helps me with the inflammation so that I can eat. When it comes to the pain with the arthritis, unfortunately, it's just not enough. And I
Yeah.
wish it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
wish
I
it
don't know
Yeah.
was,
about
because
you.
I'm the biggest advocate for it. Like, I've been fighting for this since 2007. I had to fight like hell to get a license. I had to fly from Alberta to Ontario to get my license.
Mm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
the last
Things
person
things have
that wanted
changed.
to tap and have to take
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals.
Well,
Yeah.
even me,
So
my
when
conditions have
like
caused my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. No,
Oh, I
continue.
was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
for me, my body it's so deteriorating. My CK levels have jumped up to around 2,000.
Yeah.
So say you had like an extreme workout, like you might be around 300-400. MS you're around 20,000. I'm slowly getting higher and higher up. So like I'm a fish out of water when I sleep. I'm constantly moving. I'm so much pain all the time.
Yeah, me
My
too.
body, it's
Because I
terrible.
don't take the pain pills, right? Like, the
Yeah,
methotrexate is supposed to even everything else. I'm not in pain, but I'm still in pain. But I'm
yeah,
not taking a bunch of pain pills. I use this for pain. Like,
same.
it's,
That's
but
what
it's
I do.
still sometimes like, but I'm still
That's
like
good.
flopping, and
Yeah.
I'm still not
It,
getting complete. Like, it diverts my attention so that I'm not like
Thinking
focused
about
on
it.
how much pain
Yep.
I'm actually in. But I'm still in fucking
yeah.
pain, man, all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeremy, I noticed in your information there, you mentioned about, and you just briefly touched on it there earlier, about the opioid to deal with the
Yeah.
pain issue. Um, Obviously, that was one of the avenues that your doctor took by, you taking opioids,
Opioids, yeah. My
and
neurologist, yeah.
that obviously didn't work out the
No, I was
best.
taking 10 to 14 a day. I was in so much pain. I was just
Oh,
popping opioids. I was like, everything hurt so much. Like my body was burning, my herniated disc hurt. And then suddenly it was okay. I can't really see well. I couldn't speak well. My whole side of my body was numb. And then they're like, yeah, you have inflammation in your brain. You need to get off these opioids. You need to get off half your medication. So now I'm down to about 4 opioids a week. And so I'm hoping by summer I'm completely off of them. But right
good.
now I'm baby stepping. If I'm like going out with the kids to the park for an hour, I'll take one, or going grocery shopping, I'll take one just to do it. But it's sitting at home, no, I'll smoke, take tinctures and all that kind of stuff. And then
Yeah,
after all my side effects for medication, 1 year later, almost to the date, my son was diagnosed with autism, and I was like, look, like I had a bad experience. I don't want to do pharmaceutical. Can we please do cannabis? The child doctor at the hospital was like, no, we don't get trained on the cannabinoid. We don't know about it. You're gonna have to try this medication. It was about 2 weeks later. I called her. I'm like, look, he's having side effects. He's talking to people that aren't there. He's wet the bed. He's never done that. He's just dead and kind of gazing. And she's like, oh, it's fine. Up the dose. And I was like, no, I'm not going to up it. And I kept it the same.
okay.
1 week later, he was in a coma. We had him in the hospital, hooked up to like all the breathing stuff, like everything. Like I carried him lifeless into an ambulance. And then it turned out they overdosed him.
Oh,
33%. They gave him a dose for a 12-year-old, and he was 5 at the time.
oh.
And I was like, yeah, I
And
was
how
like,
old
nope,
was he?
he was 5 at the time. He's 6 now. So
5.
it's, yeah, 5. And they gave him a dose for a 12-year-old. And I was like, I knew it. I was like, I knew something was wrong. If I had given him the dose up the limit like she wanted, he would not be here. They flew, I think it was like 8 doctors or something like that from Toronto. It may have been 8 doctors in total and a few from Toronto to London just to get him back and come out of the coma. And yeah, it was scary, absolutely terrifying. I'm like, and then when I talk to people in the community, they're like, that happened to me, that happened to my son, that happened to. I'm like, it happens more than what we realize, which is just disgusting,
Right.
right? So, and the amount of
Yeah,
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
die
because,
of
you know,
opiate.
they're practicing medicine too, and we have to try and
Yep.
trust these people because they're supposed to be trained in everything that we're not. They're
Yep.
supposed to be trained in our biologically, our anatomy. They're supposed to be trained so that if we are sick, that they can help us. And a lot of times they make us sicker.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
just
I,
trial
you
and
know,
error.
and I
Oh,
question, like, because even with my doctor, she gave me hydroxymorphine or whatever,
Mhm.
Dilaudid, and then I take Concerta for my attention deficit. The pharmacy's going, you shouldn't be taking these together.
Should
Your
mix
doctor
them.
should
Yeah,
know
don't mix
this,
them.
right? Because it's up and down. Like, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, he might as well be just like, "Nyeh." It's terrible shit, right? And then
Well,
pharmacy
still,
was like, no, you can't be doing this. And I'm like, but she's prescribed this. I need the hard,
yeah.
you know, for the, and I don't take the Dilaudid every day. It's for flares only. I take the rest of it every day for my, you know, my attention deficit. But they were okay giving me Ritalin and
Yep, yep.
hydromorphone and morphine. And Ritalin and morphine, that was okay. But for some reason, Concerta and hydromorphone aren't together. And I'm like
It's
thinking, it's a fucking speedball any way you
it's a
look
speed
at
thing.
it,
You're going up, down, up, down.
right? Like,
Even
oh
me, they
yeah,
gave me. I have holes in my heart from when the blood clots hit, so my flutter's weird. So I
yeah.
get really tired all the time and whatever. And then because I lose so much blood every day because of my Crohn's, I go for iron infusions. It's supposed to be every 3 months. I'm
Oh,
going every month almost for an
see, and
iron
I don't
infusion.
have like, and it's unfortunate
oh,
that you're
Uh,
dealing with all this
Jesus,
because I've
never
at
ends.
my heart,
it
my
never ends.
heart's good,
Like,
my lungs are good. I had a CT scan done, an MRI done. I have my blood work done every month. I'm supposed to have it done every month, but maybe every
yeah,
3 months. And my liver, everything's good. Like I'm not having any adverse side effects. Even when I take
from
the
meds.
methotrexate, I don't get the normal side effects that people normally get. Like other people get nauseated and dry mouth and super tired. I
Mhm.
don't get any of those.
Yeah,
I don't get nauseated. I feel a
I
little
do.
off,
I
but I
get
don't get
vertigo.
any of the
Yeah,
side effects. So I'm an anomaly of not getting side effects, even from anything like the COVID shots, the flu shots, any
yeah.
drugs that I take. And even when I take the hydromorphone, the pain goes away, but I'm not nauseated. I don't feel any different. Like I'm not feeling
Yeah.
any high.
I
Right,
wonder if
yeah,
that's
I
yeah,
because your
just,
immune
you know,
system's higher. Like I have
so
three
my
autoimmune disorders.
metabolism,
Yours
that's
is the
exactly, it's like
opposite.
opposite. Like
Yeah,
even when
yeah.
like it's weird because even when I drink coffee, when I don't take my Concerta, the coffee slows me down, right? Caffeine. So everything works opposite.
caffeine, coffee slows you down.
Yeah.
Caffeine
Holy
slows me
smokes!
down. Really. I drink tea before I go to bed to put me to sleep.
Well, that
Everything
was like
works weird. I'm weird.
for me because my
Oh
Crohn's
yeah,
for
yeah.
almost 10 years because my Crohn's. I was bodybuilding. I weighed 120 pounds at 6'2", and I started bodybuilding. And I was eating 10,000 calories a day. I'm like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Going to doctors. So like, "You're fine. You're fine." I'm like, "What about all this blood?" "You're fine. You're fine." And then they found out what it was, and it was Crohn's. And then I went after I almost died. I went from 250 down to 190 because I couldn't eat anymore because of the medication. It just made me so bloated, and
Right.
the heart medication, the other like all the medications I couldn't eat. So now that I'm smoking cannabis, I'm back up to 220. I'm like, okay, I feel more healthy and like a little
Yeah.
bit more
Right.
myself.
Now,
But it's sad.
so do they have you on, like, I know, like, for my Crohn's, because I was affected from, like, right from the tips of my lip right down to the butt. I had
Yeah,
fistulas and I had mouthful cankers and I
yeah,
had
yeah. I used to get
4
those.
different organs were all affected all the way through it. So, but I'm surgery free and I didn't use
That's
any
beautiful.
opioid. I didn't use any opioid medication
Yeah.
other than when I was hospitalized. So, like, when I read your story and I saw what you had gone through, and I thought, boy, am I ever glad I made that decision. To
Oh, it's
know that
insane.
I had that option and that I could, get through that. Um, because yeah, it doesn't sound like any fun dealing with those things. So did they put you on a bunch of steroids or anything along that line as
Well, that
well?
was the thing, right? So, prednisone is a
Prednisone.
steroid. Yeah, is a
Yep.
steroid. And the doctor was like,
Yeah,
"Look,
true,
you're
true.
yeah." He's like, "You're 250 pounds. You're a bodybuilder. Here's steroids." I was like excited because I was like, "Yeah, I finally get to get bigger." Like,
Yeah,
I'm so pumped I get to try steroids. Like, no, 3 weeks later, I collapsed dead, and they
yeah, yeah.
couldn't do it, right? So,
They had me on different. They had me on prednisone, and I went in for bone density
yeah,
scans, and I was on it for so long, and they had me on other ones as well. I just can't remember what they all are now, but the I know when I talked to my doctor about the getting licensed for the cannabis, that was one of the things I said to him right off the bat was he never prescribed me anything for no opiates,
yeah.
and he couldn't argue with me, right?
Well, I was in
So
pain, and he literally just like, "Here's opioids." The first thing they said is, "No problem. Here you go."
yeah,
Like it
My
was like
doctor
no,
didn't. Yeah.
no
My
questions.
doctor was like, here's some naproxen. And I'm like, that ain't going to do shit. And I'm taking like 6 to 12 Advil a day, and I can't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't take Advil with
You
rheumatoid
should take
arthritis.
it.
You shouldn't take with your inflammation. If you get inflammation, you should not take ibuprofen. Did you know that? Everybody
Yeah.
runs for fucking
Yeah.
ibuprofen when you have inflammation. You shouldn't take it
Shouldn't
when
take
you're
it.
inflamed.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
No.
You shouldn't, right? So here I
Well,
am popping fucking. So then my doctor's like, we'll try naproxen. Then we'll try, what was it, Tramadol and Tramadol, and then it was
Tramadol,
Percocet, and then it was morphine. So it's like we went from like stuff I knew that wasn't going to do anything for me because I'm already taking way more acetaminophen than even the Tramadol would cover. But in hindsight, the 6 or 8 or 10 Tylenol I was taking a day for my pain was killing my liver worse than
yeah.
the morphine, right?
Yeah.
And never mind the
yeah.
methotrexate, but like I said, I have to get my liver enzymes tested every month because of the methotrexate, because methotrexate's a chemo drug. Like in higher doses, they use it for breast cancer. I'm taking the highest dose now an adult can take. And like I said, I weigh like
And you're
94
little too.
pounds,
Yes, yes,
right?
absolutely.
Did you have
But
to?
the next step is
Did you have
biologics
to?
and injections. And I'm like, I ain't getting no. Like, I'm not going for infusions. You're not giving me a needle to inject into me once a week. Like, I'm not doing,
I'm a baby. I
I
get
just
lots of needles and
know.
I hate it.
I'm afraid
Did
of
you
it.
have
Like, I'm not,
to?
it's a phobia. Like, I'm not going, I
It's
hate
same.
needles. Like,
You should see
I'll
me
take
getting
the pills.
tattoos. I got lots of Like I
I
got
got
tattoos for
tattoos,
my
but I will
life.
not go,
I
I
hate
hate
it.
going
I
for a
hate
blood test.
it. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did methotrexate injections for 3 years.
Yeah,
I
you
had to
told me
stick
that.
the
And I
needle in
just,
my stomach. That
you know.
it started out as, oh, this is cool. By the time I was done, I was done. I was
Done, yeah.
I was done. Okay, it's time for us to take a break and pay some bills. Tamara and I will be back shortly with our guest, Jeremy Smith. This is the Pace Radio Show, and we'll be back probably in about 4.5 minutes because I'm going to play a little promo about our nomination, and we're going to get into more of that after the break.
Awesome.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Pace Radio. is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
CBG TV broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back. You're watching the Pace Radio Show, and I see Tamara is trying to adjust her camera as quickly as possible.
I was trying to take, put my jammy bottoms on before the camera started.
Well, hey, I know a guy that used to say he did the shows in his underwear because it was a radio show, so there was it's
right? The guy behind the baggie.
Exactly. All right, tonight on the program we got patient advocate Jeremy Smith, and we're learning about Jeremy because Tamara and I have never talked to him before, and he's up for a Trailblazer Award at the CannExpo in Toronto. In the first part of the show, we were talking to him about his Crohn's disease. I'm sure we're probably not going to be done about that, as well as his son. We're going to get more into that. But what I want to get into right now is the Cannabis Influencer Awards and the Trailblazer Award that you've been nominated for. I understand that you worked on something where you went around Southern Ontario and got connected with some stores as well as on some First Nation stores to try to deal with the cannabis stuff. You want to tell us about all that?
Oh, that was a fun process. So obviously, after I started getting off opioids and seeing the benefits of medicinal cannabis, I reached out to Premier Ford's office. I was like, "Look, people need to know about this. Like, this is huge." I'm like, "What do I have to do to get a meeting with Premier Ford?" They said, "If you can get 2,000 signatures on a hand petition, we will guarantee you a meeting with Premier Ford." I was like, "Perfect, I'll do that." So I went to RibFest here in London. I called the police and I was like, "I'm going to be there with a sign saying, sign this if you want to see cannabis tourism, hospitality kind of stuff, food industry." They're like, "Go ahead and do it." So I went outside RibFest here. I wasn't there 5 minutes. I had a lineup of people, and I was like, "What is happening?" I was like, "Okay, maybe there's something to this." With my health, I could only go for about an hour. So I'd go for about an hour one day, half hour the next day. So I went for in total about 3 hours in the course of 4 days. I was there. I got over five, almost 600 signatures on a petition just from RidFest. And I heard every story from under the sun. It was, my grandpa has Parkinson's, I have cancer, I have Crohn. And it was, some people were even like, "F cannabis, I hate cannabis. But you know what? My grandma has arthritis. It helps her. I'll sign it." And it was just stuff like that. And I was like,
yes, I think
there are still people that believe that cannabis should not be legal. We've had a medical program. We started with the Section 56 in 1998. We had a medical, MMAR program as of 2000, and there are still people that believe it's the devil's lettuce. The stigma still follows us. And it's been legal for medical patients for 23 years.
It's sad, and then after that, I was like,
there's only a handful. There's only like 1 or 2 stores where you can walk in for medical stuff. So just
medical stuff.
Like as far as, because their stores are really recreational. That's the way that they list them at. Even though people go there, the majority, there's I'm going to say, I shouldn't say majority, but about 50% of the people who enter the stores do so for medical purposes. So
I think everybody knows they're using it for medical purposes. I think we're the naive thinking that 50%, because people go there. Everybody's going to the stores now because they've got access, right? So when I go into the store, the last time I went into the store, there was 4 little old ladies in there buying their booty, like they were getting their little grams and their little vape pens, and they were like in their 80s, Al. And they were looked it over and telling the girl how thankful they were that they could come into her store and get their stuff for their little aches and pains.
Yeah,
It's true though.
yeah,
That's
80s. They
what
were
I
in
do.
their
I do.
80s. I'm not kidding you.
So I
So
even
continue.
traveled. Yeah, so I traveled all throughout Southern Ontario after that. I went to Windsor, Hamilton, Kitchener, Waterloo. Like I went to every city in Southern Ontario. I called over, I think it was like 130 cannabis stores, and over 100 said yes. So I brought the petition to the cannabis store. They kept it there. Some of them refilled multiple petitions.
Nice.
Then
So
I
you
went to
helped out.
Oh yeah, and then I went to the Indigenous community, and I was like, "Look, would you guys want this? Because then I can advocate for you guys and kind of get something going." They got like 600-700 alone on them. So by the end, I more than doubled the 2,000. I got over 4,000, and I was like, "Okay, I need to stop." I was like, I more than it was taking all my energy, my money.
You
Like
got your numbers. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I got the numbers. So then I started having meetings with ministers, MPPs, MPs, Health Canada, AGCO. I had meetings with the Cannabis Council and people from Diplomat Consulting, and it just kept going on, and like the list just kept growing. Now I've had meetings with some of the ministers, and they'd be like, "Why do you need the Minister of Education?" I'm like, "Why do you think?" I was like, "London, Ontario is a tourism city." I was like, we get people from all over the world going, we want to learn about this to go back to our country, to bring tourism, to bring farming, to bring agriculture, everything. Why are we not supporting this in the school system? Why are we not teaching this stuff? So I've been speaking with like Fanshawe College and George Brown College for cannabis
Yeah.
culinary tourism, and some of them are like, yeah, let's do this. So I've had meetings with like Minister of Agriculture. I just had a meeting with the Attorney General a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot of stuff I'm doing off camera, but
Right. Yeah.
it's been going absolutely amazing. I have a meeting coming up soon with the Minister of Natural Resources and the primary assistant deputy minister, sorry, the premier of Ontario. So I have a meeting with them coming up soon. And it's just a lot of them, when I talk to them, they're like, we know it helps, we know it works, but we don't know anything about it. Oh, we have like family members that use it. We have, so everyone has a relatable story, but no one wants to kind of do the work. And some people are like, you're doing too much. You're doing the medical, you're doing the I'm like, because it's a huge thing. It's a tourism hospitality opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
Like economic recovery. Since then, I got approached by Susan, who works at a university. Don't want to say too much about herself, but she's absolutely amazing. She invited me in to be a board member for the Canadian Cannabis Tourism Alliance. And since then, I've been advocating for cannabis tourism hospitality, and I've been extending my reach to more ministers and growing that way. And then we brought in more people. Then I got nominated, and we have a beautiful panel now that absolutely, I love everyone on the panel or a board member.
Before we get into the CCTA, so for being able to accumulate all these signatures, you're able to meet with these ministers?
Yep, and then because I was Googleable, so being Googleable apparently helps a lot when it comes to relevancy. So my story had a lot. I was in like the newspapers, the London Free Press, the magazines, and other news articles. I'm horrible at names, sorry. Joys of inflammation in the brain, but no, I did all these magazines, newspaper articles, podcasts. Montel Williams reached out to me. I did a podcast with Montel Williams. Absolutely amazing person. Absolutely amazing. From there it just went, okay, we'll have a meeting with you. Okay, we'll have a meeting with you. And it just grew from there. And then some of the ministers, I called them and they're like, oh, well, my mother uses it for arthritis. I'll have a meeting with you. Oh, MPP from this city, they'll have a meeting because you collected 1,000 signatures from London, or you thought. So now I have meetings with like Tourism London, Destination Canada. I've had meetings with Indigenous Tourism Associations of Canada. I've had meetings with Tourism London, the councillors in London. So like we're always meeting, talking about this stuff and how it's actually going to affect the economy, the environment. I told them Canada has the opportunity to be the hemp producer leaders of the world. Why are we not doing all these plastics for our, I was going to say my plastics, but they're not in the room with me. My bongs are in the room with me, but but my product, you pulled up one. Why are those not made of hemp? The amount of plastics are on the ground; those should be hemp.
Oh,
like those, yeah.
Why isn't the packaging made of
Made of hemp? Like We have an
It's
opportunity, and the
classic.
government's always concerned about the environment. Why are we not saying, okay, an acre of hemp is 25 acres of green forestry? So kind of
Right.
that doesn't sell. And like
Yep.
hemp batteries for cars, they're all about car manufacture here in Ontario and Canada.
Mhm.
Why are we not producing hemp batteries when they're, I think it's 8 times or 10 times more powerful than the lithium? Why are we not
Mhm.
taking this opportunity to, grow our economy on this? So
Yeah.
then when you start
Now,
speaking about numbers, it gets their ears raised.
so
Not enough.
when
There's not enough
Not
land.
enough.
They've been down this, road with hemp before, and there's actually
Mhm.
quite a bit of hemp growing in southern Alberta.
Yeah.
Actually, but they still have regulations on hemp. They can only grow 82,000 metric ton
well
of hemp.
yeah,
They
was
still have
that
the regulations. And
regulation,
here's
right?
a thing, and I've said this on the last show to another guest and to the
So
previous guest. And Al's
Yeah.
heard me say this 100,000 times. Until Health Canada recognizes cannabis as medicine,
Yes.
we're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've been banging that to them for 20 years.
Yeah.
And until
oh
Health
yeah.
Canada has that research or whatever the fuck they need to
Yeah.
recognize cannabis as medicine,
Oh,
it don't
sure.
matter what you
Like
do, buddy, because
like
we've all
Yeah.
done it, right?
we've
But
done it. Yeah.
again, we have to get them to recognize that cannabis is medicine.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to put our energies in. It's fighting with the College of Physicians and fighting with
Yeah.
Health Canada.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's it.
Well, that's why I want to
We
get all the ministers on board on the same page, so that way we can all collectively approach.
is
So I'm kind of
the
educating each minister in their own sector to say, hey, you need to
mhm.
support it for this reason. The only ministers I've had trouble with are the health ministers. So they're
They
like, they
need
always just say,
research. They need
they're too
research.
busy.
They
Yeah.
need
And
proof.
I'm,
It's just like any other medication, right? They have
yeah.
to be able to give it a DIN number, right?
I
So
don't
like
Yeah.
think is it
pharmaceuticals, they have to have a DIN number. They have to have the
Yeah.
research to go with it, or it doesn't get. It's like
mm,
the same when they were any. It's like any medication. So when you
Yeah.
look at cannabis being a medication, it's a long process, and we
It
have to
is.
get
and
them to the first step,
that's why the stores are only recreational. They're not
right?
Exactly.
medical stuff.
And when
Yeah.
you,
That's it.
so every time I go to I guess politicians, I'll just say, and I'm like, look,
Yep.
there's 30,000, studies done throughout the world. They don't care about what the world does. There's no studies in Canada, is what they keep
Yeah.
saying. Well, so
Yep.
why are we not doing it? Why are we not doing the studies? I work at a hospital. Like, why are we not using one floor to do all this kind of stuff for cannabis research, or sorry, cannabis? Well, I guess so. Yeah, cannabis research, and like science research for cancer. Like, we already know there's lots of studies to prove that it kills the cells. Why are we not focusing on this? Because money.
No money.
So
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
money, right? They make so much money
No
in
money.
pharmaceuticals,
They can put a
right?
lot of money into that, into discovering that, but they want to be able to get a product out of there that they can patent, that they can keep,
Yeah,
to get back the
And it's
money
about
plus make
safety
money.
and
Yeah.
it's
safety and
about
health
safe.
and safety, and it's got to be
Yeah.
consistent. And that's the
Yeah,
thing with cannabis. Like cannabis is not consistent. Like every
no,
plant will
yeah,
throw a different bud with a different
yeah,
percentage all the way through the plant. So it's super inconsistent, right? So
yeah,
we can bang, and we know, I'm not disputing this, medical benefits. That's the best thing that has ever happened to a lot of
yeah,
people, was picking up that first joint, taking that
Yeah.
first toke, eating that first brownie. That has done and so much for so many people. That first little bit of tincture for that kid that quit seizing. Trust me,
yeah,
we've been fighting for
Oh
decades
well. Yeah.
to
Well.
get them to understand that we are a case study.
yeah,
Why don't you listen to us? Why don't you
exactly.
take the
Yeah.
research from listening
Yeah.
to us?
Yeah.
And you get this.
20
And you can
Yeah,
talk
years.
to every politician in the fucking world. And you get this, right?
yeah.
For
Hey,
20
that's why we
years,
Yeah.
like you
advocate.
mentioned, that this program has been here for 20, 21 years, and along this time they could have had patients volunteer information in order
Exactly.
for them
We
to
begged
collect
them.
some of
We
that
begged them.
data.
Yeah,
Yeah, but and they can volunteer. Don't force people to do it. But do you find that like Tamara and I, we've had our experiences over the years. It sounds like you're a lot newer at this than what Tamara and I are at this.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
find, like, when you're talking to the people who have now had some years of hearing about these politicians hearing about patients in the stores and all that, do you find that maybe they're receptive to some of this stuff, or do you think that um, you're falling on deaf ears? Like, obviously you're meeting with a lot of people, and they wouldn't be meeting with people if you weren't getting somewhere.
No, they definitely see it. They definitely see the opportunity. I think more or less, it's kind of like they're scared to be the person to bring it forward. They're scared to be that person, right? But they all say they like it, they support it, they see the benefits of it, but no one's putting it forward. So that's why I did the petition. So I was like, okay, here's 4,000 signatures. I got it tabled in the House of Commons. My MPP brought it up. They tabled it. Then I had a meeting with the Attorney General. Now I'm just waiting to hear back. They have 27 working days to get back to me. But because they just came back from holidays, that might be another week or two. Who knows? Maybe 2-3 weeks. But they got 27 days. But when I told my MPP the next step we have to do forward, she was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. That's going to give votes to my opposition." So I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "No, it's not about that. Your job is to work for us." And she said, "No, go ask a different MPP." She's like, "I don't want to lose votes to this, to the it's the NDPs," and they're like, "We don't want to lose votes to the Conservatives." So I went to the Liberal, and they were like, my Liberal MP, and they're like, "Well, we don't want to do this because it's not diverse. We only care about diverse matters." I was like, "This is diverse. Well, Canada is a humongous country about immigration." They're like, "Why are we not saying, hey, come here, learn it, bring it back to your country, teach them about it?" And it's just, that's like, it's all the same circle, right? But they don't see it like that.
Because the big producers are already producing in Australia and already producing in Jamaica, and they're already producing in the other countries. And that's the thing, like we are so far ahead that we didn't realize how far. But Tilray and Canopy Growth have been in Australia for almost 6 years now. So they just built and started producing in those countries. So there's medical pot that you can actually access in Australia now with a card from your doctor. Same thing. But they went with the LP kind of, solution, the MMPRs, like that we were handed with the Conservatives back in, what year was that, Al? 2010?
2013.
2013. When they decided to take our grows away from us, we went, "No, we're going to take you to court, motherfuckers." And we did, right? And then we won that court, injunction. So, and then they had to change it again to the ACMPR, right? We've been through, I don't know how many names, MMAR, MMPR, ACMPR, like how many PRs, MRs. They still haven't got the program right. They still have left us behind completely.
The one thing that I can say, because I can't say a lot, but I can say one thing. The one thing that the government seems to get their ears up the most about is Farmgate. That's where they're kind of more leaning towards than anything right now, is the Farmgate side of it. Because even in a meeting, I'll tell them all these things, all these stats, all these numbers. They'll be like, "So what about Farmgate?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
About what?
So it's like Farmgate, like kind of like wineries.
Farmgate,
You go there, you get to see your plant, you get to pick it, you can make a meal out of it, you can drink it. It's kind of like a winery, right? You go there, you taste it.
Like a micro grower who has a storefront. It's
that's kind of where they're leaning right now.
Storefront on the same.
We've got that going on here in BC.
You guys already. So
we've got, I think, 3 places here in Ontario that are like that. And that's something that can help with the tourism end of things. There's no doubt about that as well. Like,
it's a step forward. We're not like, I'm going to put 100 things on a table. They may take 4 or 5. Like, it's,
you're going about it the right way, because it's all provincial, right? Like the way to lead, but that's the legal market, right? Where the medical program is still federal, and you got to be hitting the feds. And you got to be hitting Health Canada, and you got to be hitting the College of Physicians in Ontario, and we got to be hitting the College of Physicians in every province. And we've been talking about what's our next move, and we've got groups about like Mom and
not even the federal government's not even going to be reviewing the medical program as a separate from the recreational
as separate
program. Now it's going to be all the same group's going to be doing it. So.
Well, I have a meeting coming up with, I speak with the Cannabis Caucus here in the federal level. They actually supported one of my petitions in the House of Commons. So what I did is I took I think it was the 10 top things that people have told me over the last 2 years, and I made a petition in the House of Commons, and I put it in there. Just got approved. It's been up for maybe a week and a half. in the House of
Right.
Commons. But I'm talking to them as well because we need to get them to give us into like the
Yeah.
Premier's office and Health Canada, and because they don't want to just talk to us, right? They don't care. But I do have a meeting coming up with the one of the Cannabis Act review panel members. So I've
Okay.
talked to them. They've confirmed that they're going to be calling me to have a meeting. So not to name, I'm not going to name names, but it's one of them,
No.
and
Yeah, that's fine.
it's out in BC. So they're going to be calling me to talk about it, and I'm going to be saying, look, we need to really focus on this medical aspect. And they're like, well, they're more focused on labels. They're more focused on, I'm like, who cares about the labels? I'm like, let's get some actual change here. This is the time. It's under
Yeah,
review.
yeah.
Like it's
Labels have been
absolutely
a
devastating.
problem. Labels have been a problem since the industry started,
Yeah.
since day one. They've had lots of time to work on that, and they're failing. So
And they're failing. Like,
there
but
was some just recalled recently that was labeled wrong.
well, the way that I always say too is like I've managed a bar for what 12, 13 years ish. So I worked in the bar industry as a bouncer, and then I worked my way up to manager. Right. I've
Yeah.
been stabbed. I've been puked on, pooped on. I've been hit with everything under the sun.
Oh,
I've carried people into ambulances. I've ripped women out of cabs that have been drugged, and the guys are trying to put them in cabs, and I've ripped them out of cabs. And I'm like, I've seen that industry. I've been in that industry, and we support it. We're like, you're 19, get to the bar, go have your drink. Hopefully, you don't end up in the
mhm.
hospital. Like, just it's almost a joke, right? And I'm like, why are we
Yeah, yeah.
supporting that kind of industry? I'm like, why can we not have a dignified consumption space where we can actually go enjoy ourselves with, good quality stuff that isn't, Phil's basement brownies that you don't know if you're having 1,000,000 milligrams or, or 10
Yeah,
milligrams. You don't know, right?
yeah.
So it's like, this is what we need to
It,
do. We need to have a good
it,
consumption area.
yeah, it just doesn't make sense that, like, I know several of the provinces have mentioned it. BC's done a review on it. Edmonton was working on it. Ontario
Yeah, but
was
the ones that
bringing
we had here in Vancouver, the Amsterdam Cafe didn't close. The
No, there's
Amsterdam
still
Cafe has
some
been
in
running since
Toronto too.
1998, and Cannabis
Oh,
Culture hasn't closed their
Yeah,
lounge either.
yeah.
They're
I
still
haven't
got their
heard of that
lounge
one.
upstairs.
Oh,
But the
they're
Amsterdam Cafe has been running in Vancouver on the pot block since 1998.
That's awesome.
And they
yeah,
haven't done
yeah.
any, they don't, yeah. But in
Well,
Toronto, we used to have the Vape Central. There was all
Yeah, yeah.
kinds of vape lounges in Toronto, right?
there's like a dozen lounges in Toronto alone.
Yep,
I wrote an article on 9 of them back in 2012, and it
yep.
increased after that. So had to be at least a dozen in Toronto, and they weren't an issue. In the article that I wrote, the city of Toronto was also doing a study on them because there were so many lounges, and in them the police said that they weren't a problem. The
No.
fire department said there was no issues when it come to
None.
fire
Oh,
concerns, and then the police they it wasn't something that was a spotlight shining on them to deal with. I think
yeah.
over what was it, like a 5-year period, there was like 76 incidents, and those incidents means, so they're actually called
Look,
service calls,
yeah,
where
yeah,
they went into the establishment, but it doesn't mean that they were in there for any other reason other than they went through the door. It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that they're there to arrest people. It doesn't mean that they were in there because there was trouble. It just means that they went in through the door, and it could just been just a courtesy check. That was it.
Yeah. Well, even at the bar
So,
industry, like I can
oh
honestly say in 13 years,
Hmm.
I never had one problem with someone to tie.
yeah,
I've been kissed. I've had people grab my butt. I've been hugged. I've been like, oh, thank you so much. Sorry for falling asleep. Where can I go eat? And then that's about it. That's about all I've ever had with someone that smoked too much or enjoyed too much. But
Yeah.
alcohol, cocaine, that's the worst. I've been punched a million times, teeth knocked out, like you name it. I've experienced it in the
Yeah.
alcohol industry, right? Like
Right.
yeah. I
it's
like to say
disgusting.
that the amount of incidents that have happened in a lifetime at vapor lounges is a weekend at
Yeah,
the
it's a weekend. Yeah,
is a weekend in Toronto in the alcohol district, in the bar
yeah.
areas for sure. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
There's some nights where you'd call the police 2, 3 times at the bar, and there's people being bottled, people being, like I said, stabbed, guns pulled out. I've kicked people out, pulling out guns on people, and like it's absolutely insane the amount of times we called the police. And I've never once that I can ever recall, other than have a good night, get a hug,
Have a good
kiss on the
night.
cheek,
Yeah.
and out they go. But yeah, it's
Exactly.
sad. But again, that comes down to the stigma and all the other crap that's around
Yeah,
the cannabis
and
industry, right?
you know, the stigma started 100 years ago, and that's not going to go away overnight. You know, things have improved, but there's still lots of work to go. And
Well, the
talking
best
about
is
growing,
I would say the best is like when Tamara was saying, like seeing the old people. I bought something off of Kijiji the one day. So just like lawn stuff, like a whippersnapper and stuff like that. So I ended up going to this lady's house. My wife was there. My kids were in the car waiting. I go up to the house, and this like 80-year-old lady's like, "You look familiar." I'm like, "You don't know who I am." I'm like, I work in a hospital. Like maybe you saw me when you came to the hospital. I work in a retirement home, and I also work at a bar. I'm like, there's no way you saw me in any of those places. And then she's like, "Wait, is your name Jeremy?" Like, and she's like, "I saw you in the newspaper." She goes, "Thank you so much." She's like, "I now go to the cannabis store. I get tinctures for myself for my arthritis." She goes, "I have inflammation in my brain." She goes, "I even give some to my dog, and now my dog's running." I'm like, okay. And I was like, I like this. I'm like, this, okay. I'm like, this is cute. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. You're all one category of health.
Education, right? And that's all you can do is keep educating people, because it doesn't matter if you change one person's mind. You've done your job. Like that's what we always just kind of kept saying. It was like, just as long as you change one person's mind. And Al's with grassroots, like writing and putting out free magazines and newsletters.
You can change one person's mind. That person could change a couple more, and a couple more. And you know, our voices get louder, and you know, the whole advocacy thing gets bigger. And it's gotten to the point now where when I go through that nomination list, I maybe know like 3 or 4 people. It's just really
growing.
Strange. So it's good. It's been good these last few weeks. We've been able to get to meet people. And on that note, it's time for us to take a break. Off to another commercials situation, and then when we get back, we'll continue our conversation with Jeremy Smith, and of course, we're going to run another promo before we go to break. See you on your side.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the 2 easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you watching television on Roku, Fire, maybe an Apple TV or even Chromecast? If you are, then download the Boxcast app and search for CBG TV.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Pace Radio Show. We're live on Roku TV, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. The list goes on. It just never stops. Tonight's program, we're joined by our guest, patient advocate Jeremy Smith, who has been nominated for award for Trailblazer at the CannExpo. Well, Jeremy, we haven't brought it up yet, but I'm going to bring it. There we go, right there, right now. CannExpo website.
There.
And you can see Jeremy is right here. Now you got to do is click on his name if you like what you hear, and that's a vote. Right, Jeremy?
Yeah, that's right. And there's still more stuff that I could even tell you that I'm doing. I'm just waiting for the big approval. So
go right ahead.
Yeah, this one a lot of people might be interested in. I've already got the approval from the City of London, the zoning, the bylaws. Oh, my neighbor's dog is barking. I hope you can't hear that. So we actually got the approval already. I'm actually going to be opening up Lay Munchies. It's a cannabis infused pre-made meals for home delivery. We already have everything ready to go. It's just we're waiting for the approval. Health Canada originally said I could do it, and then we had a meeting a couple months ago. Then they're like, if you do it, we're coming after you now, because the word perishables is in the act. So they're like, you need to get Premier Ford to approve it. Once it's approved, then you're good to go for home delivery only. So it's not somewhere you can come and consume. It's just for home delivery. It's always already going to be pre-infused meals. It's nutritional meals. Everything is just biodegradable.
Is this some, like, as far as the product, that's the meals themselves?
Yeah.
Is this something that you're making, or is this something that chefs are making?
Yeah.
And so this would be something, obviously it's going to be legal and infused meals. Boy,
so
this
people
is really
like
skipping
ourselves.
the dishes.
Oh, it's skipping. So the company I'm working with, I can't say names yet. They already send meals out to retirement homes for people when they have specific nutritional meals, nutritional for the diabetics and all that kind of stuff. Now, say your kid has, same thing my kid has, say he has that, then we go, okay, well, you don't need the THC, so we'll custom make the meal for you with a chef. Everything is not manufactured in a big, it's chef prepared meals. Every dose is perfectly done for your individual needs.
Nice.
We can then send it to you. We have keto, vegan, all those kind of diet options. The foods are already out, non-infused. They're already in sales. They've already been in like Forbes magazine and all that kind of stuff. So the company I'm working with is already well established, and we're just going to be kind of expanding into the cannabis area. And yeah, it's already approved in London. So the second we get this going, second we get the approval, people fighting cancer will be able to get, meals delivered. And I'm like, isn't this safer than saying, drive out, get your cannabis, go out, get your cannabis, whatever, or home delivery. It's here's your nutritional meals. Nutrition is the biggest thing. Sorry, go ahead.
So this wouldn't be being produced at a place where somebody could just go and get it. It's something that has to be done.
You won't be allowed. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It has to be done through the delivery service. That way, there's somebody you're checking for the ID at the other end to make sure that It's
Yep.
person of age, so on and so forth.
Yep. And then the person that I'm getting my cannabis through, they actually do. He's been helping me out for the last year and a half. Indigenous out in
Mhm.
BC. He's been supplying me with his indigenous, sorry, indigenous. Well, he is indigenous, but his tinctures and stuff like that that have helped me get off opioids. So I want to pay it forward, work with
Nice.
him. He also has a
Mhm.
side thing where he actually has the ability to check your cannabinoid system through your blood, and he does this thing where it's really cool. I don't know too much about it, but you can actually test your blood and say, this is your cannabinoid system. These are the terpenes you need, everything you need for your specific condition, and it's cheap too. It's not expensive. He said I think it was
Mhm.
like $80 or $100. I can't remember, but and then you can find that out. I'm like, that's beautiful. I'm like, this is exactly what we need to move this industry forward. And people with mobility issues, perfect. We send you meals,
Mhm.
nutritional meals. All our food is zero waste. So none of the food gets put in the garbage, gets wasted. It gets put into like dog food, dog treats. So it gets put back into soil. So then a worm farm takes it, converts that food in. So everything's recycled, reused, biodegradable. Like it's an amazing company. And yeah, we're ready to move forward. We're
Nice.
just waiting for the final thumbs up. So it will be happening. Cannabis infused meals will be hopefully a thing very soon
Wow.
for home delivery.
There you
So
go, Tamara.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah. So
I think
it's
Tamara want to do the baked good version of that.
yes, yes. Well, I've
No, I
already
want to
some
cater it. I want to do
cater.
catered
Cater,
weddings
there you
and
go.
Yes,
catered stuff.
yes. Well, that would already be legal, right? Well, at least in here it would be already legal, but in BC because it's not a private event.
No, you're
No.
not because
No.
you still have to use legal product. And there's still not
Yes,
enough
yeah.
product being able to be like I can't go and buy like 70 grams of cannabis, right?
No,
I
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
can, but and so then
Well, you can
it all
just make
comes
the
down to
trip.
dosing and then how much butter are you using to, infuse your broccoli and cheese and how much,
Yeah.
basil and or not basil, but infused olive oil are you using and everything. And is that dosing going to be under the, limit of like 2 grams per,
2 grams, yeah.
piece or whatever it is, like for
Yeah.
the edible when it's at maximum 10 milligrams per package. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's where you run into your problems with your legalities when you're making
Yeah.
food and stuff is because the fact you have to keep everything under a certain dose.
Yeah, exactly. But if they already
I
do
would think
private
you would have.
events, why wouldn't you be able to do those now though?
You probably can if you can use their tinctures and stuff. You have to use their legal stuff. You have to
Oh,
be
yes,
infusing
yes,
your food with
yes,
their legal product, right?
yes, exactly. Ours is
Correct.
a
They
tincture.
want
It's
you to
not
use legal product.
properly.
And in reality,
Exactly. Yeah,
that
yeah,
you can't go to an LP and wholesale and buy. Like if you're doing it like in a catering situation, like I need more than a little bottle of tincture like this when you're feeding
yeah,
300 people. Right? So where can I go? So I need to buy there's nowhere you can go, like Gordon's Foods where you buy all your butters and all your your
They
supplies for
bulk
restaurants
order.
or a
yeah.
catering company or bulk stuff. There's nowhere for anybody to go to get it like that. Like
No,
I need like can of butter and I need like not a pound, I need like
tubs,
60 pounds. I need
tubs.
100 pounds, right?
Yeah,
So where am I going to
yeah,
get where I need access to that? So when they finally get to the point where the LPs are making product like that you can get for restaurants, then I think we're going
yeah.
to be able, because in reality it's not cost effective, nor do I want to go
No.
and,
No,
buy
no.
70
Yeah,
pound,
Yeah.
70 pounds of
No.
cannabis and 70 pounds of butter and try and do that in the kitchen first, produce that, and then go into making the stuff. And you know what I mean? Like,
yep. It makes for a lot more steps and a
Couldn't.
lot less profitable, but that's a problem with
Right.
right,
the industry, right? Taxes, profits, all that thing is a
right,
huge,
Oh
huge,
yeah,
huge
we're hearing about that all the
factor right now.
time.
Like that,
right.
I
So
try
you
to
have
stay
to take
away
all that
from,
into
but
consideration.
yeah,
And like I said, you can use shatter and stuff in certain aspects when you're baking and stuff and making stuff too, but then you still have to either buy the shatter in large quantity, which you can't
yeah,
do it from anywhere, or you buy, where you get your product from to do this. Because you can't buy it in large quantity unless you buy it from the black market, right?
uh,
Flat out. Buy those quantities from the legal market.
oh, something happened with your mic there.
So like
I
that's
think,
where my
oh, there you go. There,
conundrum is. My conundrum is where am I going to get 100 pounds of can butter?
yep. So depending on the event and everything else, like it's a pain, but like profit margins. Originally, I was like, oh, I want to do a cafe. I want to do, kind of like
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's not worth it. By the time you do the overhead, the employees, the like all that stuff, it's not worth it. And Fused
Right.
Meals for Home Delivery, that gives me the profitable profit margins to actually be doing it the way it is now. I won't make a lot of money doing it, but it's not always about the money. To me, it's about
There's no money in
improving quality of
restaurants
life.
anymore. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after COVID, it showed don't do restaurants. So it's like,
Well, I just came off, I just did 8 months in a doing catering and like without infusion, of course.
yeah.
There's lots of money to be made. And there's
Oh,
lots of
yeah.
people that would be interested in cannabis. But again, it's getting the product
It's a product, yeah.
so that you can actually
do it.
function as a catering company or as a
Yeah.
bistro
Well,
or
like,
as
we have other products that are restricted that you can buy large quantities of. And so there's no reason why they can't expand that. But is there, like, if you're gonna get the okay from the government to do this, Jeremy, why couldn't that expand and get bigger, then maybe eventually make it to that.
Well, this is just the baby step.
it's
That's
all
all
under
I'm
the
doing.
liquor
I'm
board.
just doing.
Like they need
And
to
I've
separate that. They need to
already
separate
had.
cannabis away from the Liquor Control Act. And
Yep.
that's what they've done in every province. It's still under the liquor and gambling, like same rules, same regulations, right? They should have never put them together. It should be a separate entity all on its own. Cannabis should have its own cannabis and leave your liquor and your gambling and all that shit where it was, right? But they
I
didn't.
say
They
that all the
combined it.
time.
The OCC.
Right.
I'm
That's
always
why.
like,
That's
why
why
would
the
you tell?
LCB here was open before anything else. Alberta was already private liquor, so that's why there was like 500 stores that popped up in 2 weeks in Alberta.
Yeah.
Do you remember
I always
the
say it's
frank
like
discussion?
Sorry,
Go
what?
ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. I always
dispute-
say it's like telling a mechanic to go into surgery and do open heart surgery on someone. Like, why are you doing that with the government? Why are you telling someone that knows about alcohol to take control over cannabis?
Yeah.
Why are you telling someone
Yeah.
to me, it makes no sense.
Right.
I have meetings with the AGCO. Awesome people. They're ready to write regulations. They're just waiting on legislative. They know about it. They're ready for it. But again, it's all about the legislative. So we need the government to individual province. I tried federally. They're all like, no. Do provincially, then because of common law, we can kind of just copy paste it across the country. So my focus is mostly in Ontario right now. There's other people doing amazing thing in Alberta and BC. There's already a lot of other people doing absolutely unbelievable things.
We'll hunt them all down.
Yeah, and then obviously my advocacy has led me into a board member role for the Canadian Cannabis Tourism Alliance. So which is huge. We have people all over the world.
Tell us more about what you can tell us about the CCTA. We've got a few minutes here still.
Couple minutes.
Probably at least another 20 minutes.
So
I'm running the clock here, so we're good.
Yeah, I keep looking at it. CCTA.
You're good.
Short, quick. We are non-for-profit cannabis tourism organization. I am the board member, director of government relations. So I do the advocacy. I meet with the politicians and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And I'm trying to make move that way. We have other people in different sector for, what's the word I want to use? The proper word I want to use: analytics and stuff like that, right? We need the documents, we need the data. Like you said, we need the data. That's a huge thing that we need in Canada is Canadian data. So we want them. But then I have meetings with some politicians, and I'll be like, "Oh, we are doing this. We propose this," because I can't say everything, but we're doing this, and they're like, "Oh, we'll do the Ontario cannabis story about it." Oh, we'll go to. I'm like, "No, why?" I'm like, leave them out of it. They're much as I find they're an unnecessary part of the cannabis industry. They're taking people's products to make revenue off of other people. Like, it just, to me, it's silly. It takes the tax, tax margins and everything out. But I leave that for other advocates. That's a very big subject for one person to cover, and there's other people doing a tremendous job on it. Like George Smitherman and the Cannabis Council and all them. They do an unbelievable job advocating. So I'm not even going to try to step on those big feet. So I've only been doing it 2 years.
See, right now, over in Amsterdam, they're telling tourists to stay away not to bring their cannabis into the red light district and basically banning tourists. Here in Ontario, obviously there's some, but this as far as cannabis tourism, but
Well, the Hot
in
Box
your
Cafe has now been shut
position,
down. The Hot Box is now shut down. Even. And that was the last and first,
it's gone.
standing like vapor lounge, kind of like bong store kind of thing in downtown Toronto, and now it's gone too. Joey's still rocking it though with the underground though. The underground cafe is still rocking it.
Canada is number 2 in the world for cannabis tourism for medicinal purposes. So why are we not focusing on that? Why are we not going? We're number 2 in the world
exactly.
for medicinal tourism. I've met so many people
from
the States, and like that's a pure red flag. Like, this is our opportunity. Let's take advantage of this. Like, it blows me away. But there's the medicinal aspect that I love to focus on, because how many people come from the States to here for, why are we not doing like what's the terminology? Alcoholic Anonymous, anonymous. Sorry, it's hard for me to pronounce some words still.
It's all right. I understand.
And then why are we not doing that here? Building retreats for people to get off opioids. 20,000 people die a year from opioids. Why are we not going? Okay, why are we not switching? The data is already out there. The data already shows. Why are we not doing this and building retreats for people to get off alcohol? Other harsh drugs. The government's like, anti-opioids, let's end opioids. But then you give them a solution, and they're like, no, we don't want to. We don't want to hear the cannabis thing, right? Like,
I know there was. I know there was some people that were working on opioid healing houses, but I'm not sure whatever happened to that. It sort of went quiet. So
the government.
So we also have substitution programs like the ones that happen in downtown Vancouver. Neil Magnuson has one. There's one we're running in Surrey now. There's also Chris Backer out in Halifax, Nova Scotia, that runs a substitution program in Nova Scotia. There are several advocates that are out there on the streets every week handing out edibles to opioid to help get them off,
just read about that.
And try and educate. So Neil's been doing it now for 12 years, I think. What's that?
I think there was. I was thinking there was one down Jeremy's way, as well. A
substitution program.
Place like that. Yeah, substitution program. Yeah, whether it was like it was advocates doing it, whether it was in London area or a little more west.
Mississauga. I thought it was more. I thought it was Mississauga, and then there's Peterborough crew. Like Jennifer Collette's still out in Peterborough advocating too, I'm sure. And Ross and Debbie were, in Belleville advocating every day with Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis. The substitution programs. I don't know about one in Ontario, to be honest. I haven't. Like I said,
there needs to be. Why are we not doing it? Like there
needs to be. Exactly.
A wellness center, like,
right? Why exactly? Well, I mean, Amy does the cookies and coffee, or the cookies and cannabis at Christmas time. Like, huh?
Peterborough really needs one. They've got one of the high capitals.
Opioid.
Peterborough, Ontario.
Yeah.
Well, even when I traveled throughout Southern Ontario, like I heard this, I went over 100 cannabis stores, indigenous communities, like the amount of people that said, I got off opioids, I got off harsh drugs, came into cannabis. Now I'm a business owner. Now I'm it's unbelievable how much
well, look at yourself for an example. What were you doing in the cannabis industry or field before you got sick?
Nothing. I quit smoking for 8 years.
I would say probably Tamara and I are the same thing. Yeah. It was because of what we experienced,
our health,
and went through. And in your case, you experienced. Plus, you've got your son on top of all that. To see all that, and it's hard to be quiet, isn't it?
It's hard. It's absolutely hard. Like even our Minister of Health, Carolyn Bennett, she was like, I contacted her office, and they were like, we love it. Give us as much information. I sent them like a 7-8 page email. And they're like, we'll give you a meeting, blah, blah, blah. And then they replied with, she's too busy. I'm like, that's it?
Carolyn Bennett was with us. What year was that? 2012. Yeah. We protested in Ottawa, Parliament Hill, and Carolyn Bennett joined us in the green room and spoke on behalf of medical patients with Alison Murden and Russell Barth and Adam Greenblatt. And who else was there? Al, you were there too. Al, you were there.
Is that the Phil the Hill thing?
No. This was the
No.
protest for patients when Haley and Cheryl and everybody came out. You were there for that
Oh,
too,
okay.
Libby.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
Carolyn
and then
Bennett's been a long time advocate for medical patients. She's a
for medical
doctor herself.
patients.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I thought she'd be perfect to have
Yeah.
on. And I just got a reply back with she's too busy. And I'm like, in 2 years, she's been too busy. I've tried this multiple times. I've had other ministers help to reach out. I have a couple ministers right now trying to facilitate a meeting with her, because that's probably the best way I'll get through is have other ministers and MPPs. But it's amazing because I'll
Right.
contact some ministers. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jeremy Smith." They're like, "Oh, the cannabis person." They're like, "Okay, we love you. Like, we've already read about you. I'm like, okay, it's weird that you guys know my name. My wife hates it because like we go to the grocery store or somewhere and someone will stop me like, you're the guy, and she's like, I just want to
You
go home. I just want to
recognize.
pee. So it's funny. I'm like, well, good.
Yes.
That means people are talking because I have people from
Pe-
Florida, people
yeah,
from
people are noticing.
yeah, and they call me and they're like, because of you, I don't feel alone
Yeah.
anymore. Because of you, I don't feel. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I can't do the physical work I used to. I used to be the mule at the hospital that would lift the beds, throw something that take 2-3 people. I would throw it in the garbage, and I was doing it by myself. Now I was struggling to pick up my kid, my at the time 1-year-old, and I couldn't pick him up. I was getting dizzy, wanted to puke, the vertigo, the pain, like. And now I'm at least able to bring my kids to the park, watch them play for an hour, and it improves my quality of life. Lets my kids be. I'm not the fun jungle gym dad anymore, but I can still go out and enjoy the sun with them now at least, right? So if I can do that for other people,
Instead
why
of
not?
climbing
Why
on
not?
you, instead of climbing all over you, they climb over the jungle gym.
Exactly. Yeah. So hey, my kids
Yeah.
notice it. They appreciate it. They know, Dad, I'm educating my kids, my 6-year-old and 3-year-old.
Good.
They know it's Daddy's medicine. They know it's medicine. They know not to
Good.
touch it. It's all about education, right? So that's where it
That's right.
starts. So,
It
and then,
is,
like I said, my
exactly.
family's all policing. Like pretty much most of my family's policing. Like brothers, RCMP, uncles RCMP, aunts RCMP, dad's OPP, sister's OPP. Like everyone's a cop in my
Wow.
family, and they're all like, "Oh, don't do
Yeah.
drugs." I got kicked out at 17 years old for being the druggie, the party animal kind of guy, right? And now
Oh,
some of them are using cannabis, and I was like, "See," I was like, "There you go." I'm like, it's nice to see the people evolve,
yeah.
right? And like even working at the hospital, the amount of doctors I've seen use cannabis, the amount of carpenters I've ran into, tradesmen, plumbers that are just sore knees, sore back, sore. I'm like, and they use
Mhm.
cannabis. I actually went into one cannabis shop, and police officers were there in their uniform, and I was like, wait, what? They're like, it's the weekend, like it's after the shift. We're going home. We have our own time off. We're allowed to
Yep,
use
they're
it,
allowed.
and
Yeah.
I ran into a couple like city councilmen using it, and they're like, "It's Friday. As long as I'm clean for 48 hours for Monday, I'm good." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, times are changing, but no one talks about those people, right? No one talks about the people that use it for medicinal purposes, for their just aches and pains, and kind of what people used to use for Tylenol or using cannabis for. And it really opened up my eyes to the possibilities of the plant, and yeah, I've been advocating ever since.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. It's just a lot of people that's what happens. Some of them are accidental advocates, whether it's their son or the daughter, like the Jones family there, and the Big Night, and you've done basically the same thing because, as you said, you weren't involved in this until you got sick, and once you experienced what you went through, you had to tell everybody, and the people who were against it saw the advantage that it made for you, and
Yeah.
it changed their minds as well.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
remember. I never forget the day I went to my mom's house and I found a infused bath bomb, and I was like, "What is this? You kicked me out of my house at 17." She's like, "It's not mine. It's your father's." I'm like, "Uh huh." I was like, "Here we go." Right. But yeah, all the times are changing, and it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. Right. Like,
Oh yeah.
so it'll be nice to see where it evolves to in the next 10 years ish. They'll probably have to go under
Right.
another review after this, but
I'd like to come back in 100 years just
oh,
to
I
see
know,
how
just
it's
seeing how
changed.
much is involved is just
Yeah. Can you imagine
unbelievable in a
somebody
couple of
coming
years.
back who was around during alcohol prohibition, when it first went in
Yeah,
and all that stuff, and then coming back now, like, holy
there's
cow.
bars.
You
Well,
might
it
even
really
buy in the
changed.
grocery store.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you know,
working at a
like you can
retirement
buy
home.
it in
Yeah.
a 7-Eleven in Quebec. You can buy it like you can't
Yeah.
here. You can't. You have to go to a liquor store here. But I have a friend that lives in Montreal, and you can buy liquor in the 7-Eleven and the grocery
7-Eleven.
store.
Yeah.
In Ontario, you can buy it in a
Yeah.
grocery store too. Can you not? Yeah. See. Yeah.
Yep. LCB or sorry, LCBO, Loblaws and stuff like that. They have it in their stores.
Yeah. We
Walmart's
can't.
got it.
Food
Yeah.
Basics, yeah, they have it here. And working at a
And then
retirement home,
smaller
the amount of
communities allow it.
oh,
So smaller
exactly,
communities have it inside of like a convenience
variety
store.
store. Yep. And then even
Yeah.
working at a retirement home, the amount of people I've spoke with that use painkillers because they have dementia or Parkinson's or like my grandpa had Parkinson's, my grandma has dementia. I've lost a lot of family members to cancer. I'm like, man, I wish I knew about cannabis when they were alive. Like I absolutely wish I knew
Yeah.
about it. But I speak to
Mhm.
so many that were like, I don't want to huff on that marijuana or that cannabis or that, the whatever. I'm like, well, one, if you could eat it, they're like, you could do that? I was like, yeah, you can actually
Yeah.
ingest it, you can drink it, you can tincture stuff like that. And that's when I started coming up with the
But
idea
you're
with
gonna get
infused use.
really, really stoned, Grandma.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, some of them don't need the THC, right? So they can just do
Yeah.
CBD, CBG, CBN. So we just infuse it with those, and it'll be enough to help them with their bedtime naps and stuff, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
options to
You
Yeah.
need
start with.
Exactly.
THC too, though. That's the thing.
You
You
do
need
need
to be
it. You do
using a
need it.
full spectrum.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You do need it.
you need the full spectrum.
Yeah.
Flat out,
Yeah.
you need the full spectrum. All this distillate and isolate and stuff is not good. And then the Delta 8's
No,
killing people.
Delta 8's
Is it
killing
Delta
people in the
8?
States. Yep, Delta
Right?
8. Yeah, it's
So
killing
quit
people in
ripping
the
the pot
States.
apart. Use it the way it's
Exactly.
supposed to be. Smoke the
Yep.
goddamn leaf and, smoke the oil. Eat the oil the way it's supposed to be done. Because you know what?
Yep.
Science
Well,
is great. Quit ripping the plant
it's,
apart. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it
Yep.
alone.
as
And
Dr. William Courtney calls it, it's a vegetable and it should be part of our regular diet. Because if
yeah,
people are just
100%.
eating it,
But you're not
it's
eating
not
the
being
inside of a
prepared.
fucking carrot, are you? Like you're not tearing the outside of the carrot apart and just eating the inside of the
Nope.
carrot. You
Nope.
have to eat the whole damn
No,
carrot.
if
So
you,
eat the whole fucking. You need the whole plant.
I
You
like
need the
that.
whole
I've never
thing,
heard that analogy. I like that.
yeah,
That's awesome. I've never heard that one.
yeah.
But it's true though.
Well, that's the only way you
No,
can
it's,
get it
you
through
know,
people's heads. You got
Yep.
isolate and distillate and this and that and delta this and blah 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 and CBD
Yeah.
and that. That's like
Smoke the
eating the
plant.
inside of a carrot,
Yeah.
take a tire
Exactly.
off a bus and see how well the bus runs if you take a tire off the back end of the
right?
bus.
Quit eating
Exactly.
the inside of the
Doesn't run
carrot,
as well with only 3 tires.
Well, what? There's like no
With the
death
carrot,
in
yeah.
no deaths in cannabis history, and then the second they start doing
That's
this
not true
Delta,
now. That's not true
true now
because
because
now
they started
Delta,
doing
whatever it is
Delta.
now,
Yep.
and that's
Exactly.
under the fact. So now it's not
Yep.
true. And then we got some
Exactly.
idiot in Edmonton that actually claims that he, murdered somebody because he was, or he was in a car accident and his girlfriend died because he was impaired from cannabis. So we've got 2 now court cases in Alberta. We got 2 morons that actually said that, oh, it was the cannabis that I smoked put me asleep. I ate too much. I passed out at the wheel. So they actually and then killed somebody. So
Yeah.
can we say that cannabis hasn't killed anybody anymore?
Yeah, you can't say it's directly
Yeah.
killed someone, but indirectly it
Exactly, right? But
has.
again,
That,
see, I'm always a devil's advocate on everything.
yeah. No, that's what you need. Like even the Delta 8, cannabis plant itself has not killed someone. The second we started playing with it,
Right?
that's when it started killing someone.
Quit ripping the plant apart.
Yeah. And then even if you look at it those terms, look at alcohol. Look at the industry we have. How many people did I see leave the hospital or leave the bar, and then I go to work the next day, and then I see
Here's
them
the thing: you're comparing cannabis to alcohol is like comparing apples to oranges. They're not comparable. They should
They're
have
not
never put the 2 of them in the same sentence. And it's medicine. Alcohol is not medicinal in any way, shape, or
Exactly.
form. In fact, now they're finding that it's carcinogenic and it causes cancer too. So cannabis right now they can't prove that it's causing any cancer, but it is carcinogenic when you smoke it as well, right?
When you smoke it, yeah.
Right, but again, now they've linked cancer to alcohol, so that's not medicinal. But I don't see them linking cannabis to cancer. Right.
Exactly.
In fact, I think there were studies done.
It's killing
And here's a
cancer.
kicker: the conservative government under Stephen Harper spent what was it? I think $12 billion or $12 million on a cannabis study to find the harms in cannabis. Halfway through that study,
Darn.
they stopped it because they couldn't find any harms and it was costing them too much fucking money.
Too much
And it
money.
was swept underneath the carpet. And that was right before they put the MMPR. They told us we couldn't grow cannabis. Send us all your cannabis in your kitty litter. I sent you some fucking kitty litter, buddy. Like,
yeah, no,
those were the days.
right? So here's your kitty litter,
Okay.
Harper. Oh, did I show you what I found? Did you see that picture of that epic T-shirt that I found the other day, Al? My fuck Harper shirt. I found it.
Yeah, I saw it online. Yeah, I got one.
Wish I could have it say fuck Pierre Polyev.
Yeah. Okay, well, we got here 9:35. We're a little bit past our time. We've got a broadcast coming in behind us here, so we should sort of wrap things up. Is there anything else you'd like to mention, Jeremy, before we ask you to do a shout out?
Unless we could do another hour of this, I don't know. There's so much
All
to
right,
talk about.
sounds like we're gonna need to have you come back.
Yeah. So hey, my kids are usually in bed. I don't know if my wife got them to bed without me tonight, but hopefully she did. But yeah, no, definitely appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and yeah, thank you for having me. And I'll see you at the CannExpo.
Yeah, there you go. CannExpo website. Hit the events button, influencer awards, and you'll see Jeremy right there listed as under the biggest cannabis trailblazer nomination. All righty, let's just get that there. Okay, so shout out time. Person, place, a thing, website, all that kinds of stuff. If you got more than one, feel free to mention them all.
I have my Instagram, which is Munchies Merch 519. That's my personal Instagram. That's going to be going into the pre-infused cannabis meals. So it's Munchies Merch 519. The CCTA, so the Canadian Cannabis Tourism Alliance. That there, just easy to Google. You just Google Canadian Cannabis Tourism Alliance.com, and you're there on our website. Yeah, other than that, you can always email me, Jeremy at CanadianCannabisTourism.com. I try to respond to everyone, or just Google Jeremy Smith Cannabis, and you'll see a lot of LinkedIn and newspapers and magazines, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. I think both my petitions are up on there now. So yeah, it's growing quick. It's unbelievable to see the support you get in the community.
No, I know, isn't it? It's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, Tamara. Anything you want to add?
420 is coming up pretty dang quick here, folks. April 420. And where are you going to be, Al?
That's right.
I'm supposed to be in Vancouver. Speaking in Vancouver for 420. I'm still on the fence about that because we're just going to see if I can get the time off. So that's going to be at Thornton Park, and there's a big after party at Amsterdam Cafe. So shout out to that group out there at THC Magazine. And yeah, April 420.
Yeah, I'll be celebrating my 38th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
I know, right?
On the 4th.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Where? I don't know. It could be a restaurant. I haven't got a clue where, but it's too early to tell. So, all right. Other than that, you can find the Pace Radio Network on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. There's just an unlimited amount of social media out there. We can't be on it all. I would never get anything else done. Thanks go to our sponsors, the friendly folks at Legacy 420, the Camelford Lifestyle Shop. And a big thank you to our guests, the patient advocate. And I noticed, Jeremy, you have the word advocate underneath your name. We look familiar
advocate,
there, man.
I got the nice CCTA logo going there.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
See it
Yeah,
there you go.
Gotta hold it up. Other than that, thanks, Tamara, and thanks for everybody for watching the program and tuning into the broadcast. Other than that, we will see you next week. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.